Athletes and fans around the world, welcome to another episode of Prime Time Muscle. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Tim Wilkins, flanked by these two absolute giants in the industry. Tarek Elgindi, what's going on, my friend?
I'm doing great, Tim. I'm glad to be here. It's an exciting time.
Chris Cormier, the real deal.
Always on time. Always on time.
Not this morning, you were early.
Too early.
You were not just
Too
on time.
early.
You were early.
Too early.
Yes. So, guys, so much brewing. We've had a little bit of an off season. We had December and January. The season's starting to heat up. We got check-in pictures from everybody. Chris, of course, is out there running the mobile version of Camp Cormier. You've been in, where else? You've been in Tampa with Derek Lunsford?
Tampa, and I was going to make my way out to Dubai, but decided to hold another camp in San Diego. We're talking more about that later.
All right. Derek?
I was in Brazil, had a great time there, and January is a bit slow for me. I kind of like it. You know, I stay at home, but I'm getting ready for a lot of international trips this year.
I got to make one specific shout out, guys, before we get started. This is going to air just a couple days after it. But Milo Sarcev had a birthday on the 17th of January.
Yeah.
And he jumped in. He was on the Jay Cutler podcast, the Cutler Cast. And Jay probably, I don't know, Jay probably said, hey, Milo, you do my fit over 50. Do that contest. So he did the transformation. Happy birthday, Milos. And he looks incredible.
You know, Milos, and again, this is something we're going to touch, a subject we're going to touch here. Milos competed more than anybody, right, Chris? I mean...
Yeah, he was up there. At least top two or top three.
And he looks healthy. He looks nice. You know, Chris looks healthy. He looks nice. Dexter Jackson, Kevin Levrone, a lot of these guys that competed a lot, they look great. And I think Milos is a great example. I'm a huge fan of Milos Sarcev. I think he's one of the most intelligent guys we have. He has tremendous experience. He's a winning coach. He's one of the greatest bodybuilders we have. Happy birthday, Milos. We love you, but that doesn't mean we're not gonna make fun of you sometimes.
Yeah, he's my co-host with the Menace podcast. So he's been doing check-ins. We have a little group text. He's been doing check-ins, sending us little videos.
All strided and dialed in.
Yeah, and I also mentioned one of my 10-minute workouts that I was talking about on the show. So you do 10 minutes, you do 10 repetitions, seated, 10 repetitions, tricep extensions, sit back and forth for 10 minutes straight, and then you do one set of 40 hammer curls. And you do it Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So if you guys want to try it, try the 10-minute workout with Chris Cormier. And he's been doing it. He said, Chris, I'm on my 6th workout. So you don't get like a 15 or a 20-pound dumbbell. So you don't over squeeze it because then you'll pump up your forearms. But you guys try it.
I could hear Milos probably on that podcast. Jay going, Jay, of course I train the UFC guys. How hard could it be for me to jump in, get shredded like the old days? Chris, I'm out here showing Derek Lunsford not to do a vacuum. It's not a pose, Chris. Vacuum is not a bodybuilding pose. It's abs and thighs, not where did your abs go and where are your thighs. So it's just so exciting to see somebody at 61 just dial it in like that.
It looks great. And he is, I told him, he is the superstar of podcasts. If you want your podcast to be successful, Milos Sarcev, he's funny. He has tons of references. He's a historian. He's a success. I love the guy.
So, again, happy birthday, Milos. Now, guys, we move on to the biggest way to kick off a season. It's like when NASCAR kicks it off with the Daytona 500. We kick off with the Arnold Classic. And the bodybuilding, they've upped the prize money. They're trying to get the stars out, and they're there. We've got Samson Dauda. Chris, you got the list too. Samson Dauda, Derek Lunsford. Samson has won it. Brandon Curry has won it a couple times. William Bonac has won it.
Yeah.
And we've got
Rodriguez. We've got Carlos Thomas Jr.
Okay.
That's going to be a big one for him.
Let's keep that list handy, Chris. Let's talk about Carlos Thomas Jr., guys. Have you seen the update pictures?
I saw the pictures. He looked very impressive. He's got ton of mass. I know him personally. He's a focused young man. I know his father. He is very driven. He has the genetics. Needs to come in condition. I'm not giving him any credit until I see him condition. In Texas, he took third to Andrew Jack and Hunter Labrada. He looked great, but he wasn't conditioned. At the Arnold, he needs to come in condition. Otherwise, people are going to assume he is this megastar with pictures before, but he doesn't come conditioned. I'm putting a little bit of pressure on you, Carlos. Hey, the pictures look awesome. The mass is there. The small waist is there. You have the drive. You have the big support. Can you come in conditioned to battle for the title? That is the question. Until then, Tim, it's nice pictures.
Yes, but I mean, I'm going to go a little bit easier on you, Carlos, because I know I've seen some improvement already. I've seen some improvement in his conditioning this far out that I haven't seen before out of him. So he looks like he's a little bit more mature, muscles going on there, but the abs are a lot more developed and a lot more lines going on in the midsection, which, in my opinion, was a weak point for him because I don't think he was really paying close attention to that area. And I haven't seen the back double, so I'm going to have to pump the brakes a little bit, but I still think he's going to make the top 5 and beat some of the veterans that's been there before him.
I totally agree. Now, I will say, if conditioning's been a problem before, balance has been an issue because his legs are so massive, top to bottom.
Yeah, and Chris mentioned a good point. The back needs to come up. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Samson. We were talking about Samson. Needs a little bit more back and needs to be a little bit more conditioned. And we were hard on Samson, right? We said, hey, we're not going to give you credit until you come conditioned. He did, and he won the Olympia. Legs are massive, but if he has the back and he comes in condition, nobody is going to say, well, your legs are detrimental to your career. You know, we love big legs. That's one thing we're missing is big legs. So, Carlos, squeeze in the cardio, come in condition, and pursue glory because this could be your moment.
So if you come in with those baby back ribs again, then we're going to have to put you out of the top 6. Do not come in with the baby back ribs. Go ahead.
Wow, you went fat bastard on that. Chili's baby back ribs.
Baby back rib.
Oh, baby back.
We're not easy on some of the young guys. Chris and I were not easy on the young guys. You have to prove yourself, and he hasn't done yet. I think his 3rd place was relevant, but based on potential, Carlos can win multiple shows, and he has the ability to battle it out. I need to see what he does. Like Rafael Brandão last year. Until then, I kept telling everybody, Rafael, you have not proven yourself against some of the top dogs. He got that final call out with Hadi and Samson. That's what made him.
So let's continue through the list. And Counselor Chris from Camp Cormier, there are some guys with something to prove. Samson wants to prove it wasn't a fluke, and of course he wants that check. Derek wants to prove that he deserves it back. So you've been out working with Derek Lunsford.
Yes. And, I got to say, when I'm there, I'm able to push him, I think, pretty far, like farther than probably he's ever done some of these exercises. And most of the posing, I guarantee you, he'd never posed. He said, Chris, I never posed that much in my life. And we still got another 6 weeks, so there's 5 weeks to go for the show. And also the last week, I think it's going to be very telling for him because I know he haven't been used to my protocol that I like to do with athletes the last week. And I like to get there a week before, get some training, only like 2 sets per body part for the upper body. That includes everything, the abs, everything. And then we do a pretty good round of posing. About that time, we may be up to around 10 rounds on every pose. And then we'll do some freestyle stuff. But we're just getting to that point, and I think that's going to be a big change for him and different for him because he said he wasn't doing that much the last week. So this is going to be new.
It's going to bring out that fine lines and details.
Yes.
So let's continue down the list. And Tarek, you mentioned Carlos Thomas Jr. having an issue with Andrew Jack. Andrew will be there. There's another guy with stuff to prove.
Psycho Lewis hates when I say this, but Samson Dauda gained a lot of size, and all of a sudden, all the attention got to Samson. And we forgot how great Andrew Jack is. Andrew needs to come in just like he came in last year in Texas
Yeah.
and deliver a powerful performance. Whether we like it or not, Martin Fitzwater surpassed him at the Olympia. The bottom line is this Arnold is super interesting because we have the collision of two basically current Mr. Olympias, okay? Samson Dauda versus Derek Lunsford. I don't want to disrespect Brandon Curry. He is a Mr. Olympia. He will always be a Mr. Olympia. But it looks like he's no longer at his prime. And if Brandon can prove me wrong, I'll be the first guy to say I was wrong and I apologize because I love Brandon. But based on his positioning at the Olympia, we're talking about a mega collision between Samson Dauda and Derek. If Samson wins the show against Derek, he solidifies his position and say, I've passed you and you're history right now. Now I just need to beat Hadi one more time and shut everybody up. Derek has an opportunity to go against Samson and say, you're just a fluke. You beat me when I wasn't at my best. I'm the Mr. Olympia, and I just beat you again. So this is a huge collision.
So
Yes.
you've also got Hollingshead, and you've got Clarita, Elisawi. What do you think of the Giant Killer's perspective? You got giants out there right now, so he'd have to be.
I think he's going to slay a few giants. I think he's going to still, I don't have him out of the top 6 by any means. And I feel like, he's working with Boss Outlaw. So I think he's going to be, better than he was in Prague. So this is going to be, if he can improve that, is his ab contractions, because I feel like he's getting a little bit sometimes not contracting as well as he should. But if he can get that under control, I don't see why not he couldn't be anywhere from that 5 and 6 spot right there.
Well, I'm going to be more precise than you, Chris. Sean Clarita in 2022, when he won the Olympia, he was the most impressive bodybuilder on stage. If he can duplicate that physique for this Arnold, you're correct. He's going to beat guys that are not conditioned. He can beat Carlos Thomas Jr. He can beat Andrew Jack. That's how good he is. Is this a favorable lineup for Sean Clarita? No, it's not. You're talking about a bunch of mass monsters. And if they come in condition, Sean is going to look small. If Carlos comes in condition, if Andrew comes in condition, then you got Samson, then you got the mega dense Derek Lunsford. This is not a favorable lineup, but then again, a lot of these guys have not been consistent with the conditioning Sean has.
But there's also Patrick Moore and Justin Rodriguez. Now, these guys can come up and do something. They've been in good shape before. They can do it again. I think Justin is going to surprise some people because I feel like he is in a good position conditioning-wise. And, who's to say that he can't be in the top 5? Who's to say that Patrick Moore can't come up and beat some guys that you're not expecting?
I love Patrick's shape. If he can come dialed in, I know he's put on some more size. But guys, we're missing one. When you talk about one more person getting in the elevator and the alarm going off, you say, this is a monster. If you're putting Sean out there, who I love to have in any show, especially in the open, but when you put Sean out there and you're thinking you got Derek, who's massive, Samson, jacked, Akeem Williams.
Akeem Williams.
That is that's the Victor Richards of this day, only he comes in dialed in.
And De La Rosa.
Yeah.
De La
But
Rosa.
Vic is just massive. Akeem.
Chris and I love Akeem, and he has the ability. He needs to get a better back, okay? That's the bottom line. From the side, he's Mr. Olympia. Side chest, side triceps. If he has a back and he comes in condition, this guy has been top 6 in the world. We just have not seen the development on the back. And we've seen other competitors such as Samson Dauda improve on the back, and they have surpassed Akeem. Justin Rodriguez, Akeem, Patrick Moore, James Hollingshead. This is it, okay? This is it. You either make a move and get in the top 5 with those guys like Martin Fitzwater did at the Olympia, or you fall back again, 8th, 9th place. This is it. You need to compete. You need to get in there, and at some point in your career, shock the world. That's what Martin Fitzwater did. My message to all these guys is, this is all in, guys. The time to prove yourself is now.
I like it. All right. One guy who's one of the top competitors in the world and has been the last 4 or 5 years, Hadi Choopan, and he has gone back to the wolf den where the Persian wolves go to put in the work. And we're going to talk about what's going on with him and where we think that's headed when we come back on Primetime Muscle. All right, guys, we're back, and one of the top guys, Hadi Choopan, is out of the Arnold this year. So he's gone back to the drawing board, warehouse, whatever it is that he goes back to figure out what to do next. What do you think this time off, is this going to benefit him? Is he losing momentum? What do you think is going on?
I don't think it benefits him. I think Hadi is a guy that competes a lot. He's used to competing. I think, remember when he was doing the 212 shows and then he went to Vancouver and he won an open show just last year. He wins the Arnold, which a lot of people thought that was his best ever. He goes to the UK, wins again, goes to the Olympia, takes second. I think that builds momentum. I think that tests your body. You know, I'm tired of people saying, I need to take the whole year off. My man, there has never been more money in bodybuilding, right? $600,000. Jake Wood just came in with a check, $600,000. I almost started doing some push-ups there. I said to myself, maybe there's a hope here. I saw Chris doing some cardio. There's a lot of money right now, man. Get that money as much as you can. He won that check. I think if he wins the Arnold here and goes to the Olympia, he tells everybody, it was just a fluke. These guys, Samson, Derek, they're nobody compared to me, and I can be Mr. Olympia for years to come. I think the time to compete is now.
I have to admit, my co-host is right. I mean, you don't wait for tomorrow and think that tomorrow is going to happen, because right now, if you're able to do it, if you're able to compete, I would compete. You know, like the great Joe Weider used to tell me, Chris, if you are invited, you go. You're invited, you go. So that was my thing. I did 10 Arnold Classics and 10 Mr. Olympia type competitions. So the thing is, let's just say, knock on wood, something bad happens between now and the Olympia. Then you wasted a whole year trying to wait around for something that's going to happen then. I mean, you're able to compete. I actually seen a little bit of what was to come at the Olympia with when he went to the UK Arnold, when he was trading shot for shot with Samson. And to me, Samson was winning some of those shots. And then I think he saw that, my weak point against Hadi is the ab shots. So I think he then went to work on his abs. I think if he, start doing the vacuum and crunching down abs, he started doing the same thing. So when he came to the Olympia, he was ready for that. He actually surpassed him and came away with the Olympia crown.
So, Chris, I think the thing we're missing, though, when we talk about this, and for the fans at home, is does Tarek really think he's push-ups away from winning the Olympia?
I think he
I know
thinks
it's a big check.
But if he did
You're doing
some,
push-ups
but if
backstage,
you
you're in the pump-up room?
But if you did a little low-calorie stuff, that might help.
I see the amount of money that's going into bodybuilding right now, and I go, man, if you're a classic physique guy, you can win shows, get a sponsor. I hear some of the sponsorships that some of these guys are getting. Chris, you were born in the wrong time. Because Tim and I, we could never be pro bodybuilders. We don't have the genetics. But if Chris Cormier, we see your legs. We see your legs. Okay, let's go. But if Chris Cormier was right now at his prime, competing 10 times a year, Chris would have a $250,000 contract with a supplement company. He would be winning one or two of the big shows, Arnold or Olympia. He would have half of. That's what Samson is doing. I mean, I don't understand, guys. This is the time to get the money.
Well, Jake started a trickle-down effect. The Arnold is up. The Pittsburgh Pro is way up on money. I mean, they're all divisions. They're increasing and throwing at it.
Steve has increased the price at the New York Pro. This guy lives in Iran, okay? If he gets a check from the Olympia, a check from the Arnold, he can buy a property in Dubai. He can buy a property in one of these places where there's no taxes, and he's set for life. Samson Dowder just bought his dream house. He showed videos. This is like the NFL, man. You know, not for long.
Yeah, and we paved the way. Myself, Ronnie, Flex, Milos, paved the way for these guys as far as competing all over the world, multiple countries, multiple shows, 10 shows a year myself, sometime 11 or 12 I've done at the height of my career. But now it's all laid out for you guys to make the money, do everything possible to compete in the different countries now. Like, come on, man. It's like, I think the fanfare is like at all-time high, especially in Europe and everything like that. You get like a big, it's like world championships, some of these shows, because people from all over the world competing in one competition. And that can be in California, could be in Canada, could be in Prague, can be anywhere. So it's awesome. It's a great time to be a bodybuilder right now.
So when Samson came in this year and Hadi was there and Derek was there, we talked a lot about he's going to steal the points from this pose for this, and this guy's going to get the points for this, and they're just going to kind of steal from each other. Where do you think from those points where Samson's beating Hadi in this and Hadi's beating Derek in this, where do you think Hadi needs to, where's that last couple poses? We know that side chest is just killer. He sits on that quad with that ham just scraping the ground. He's just massive.
I think it's going to have to be from the back from Hadi, because I think Hadi's front is very strong, is very dense in the area of the chest and the abs and everything. He has that down. You got to keep the legs up, because Samson, he's got to come in here thinking I'm the number 2 bodybuilder in the world. He's got to think that. But in his mind, he probably thinks he's the best in the world. He probably thinks he should have won that show. But he's got to improve from the back for me as far as density, size, development, and shape. And I think that's doable for him.
Judge, there's only so many times you can hit the obliques.
Derek Lunsford and Hadi Choopan are dealing with a superior genetically built human being by the name of Samson Dowda. Okay, anybody that has any understanding about bodybuilding, if you look at Samson Dowda's lines, they're superior than Derek's and Hadi. What does Hadi do better? He gets condition and he exposes Samson Dowda and even Derek. But he needs to bring his conditioning to what it was at the Arnold, to the Olympia. If he does that, he exposes a lot more. At this previous Olympia, his conditioning was not as good as the Arnold. So all of a sudden, that difference, that dramatic difference in conditioning between him and the other guys was not there. He needs to put his money on the conditioning and say, I'm never going to have the lines as Samson. I'm not going to beat Derek on a back double biceps, but I'm going to expose them on every single pose and how more conditioned I am. And that's the key. Put the money where you are the best of.
And maybe that's why he's sitting out. Maybe he's like, you know what? I need to come and strike hard at the Olympia. Maybe that's why he's sitting out these shows. But, I mean, you have to do it. You have to do it. Not only you have to do it, You have to bring that. You got to bring something that the judges haven't seen before, and that's, uh, everyone was waiting for Samson to get a little harder, a little bit more dense. And once he did that, and coming in with these new cuts in development, and showing his weaker body part, which was the back, which is not a weak body part anymore. You're just gonna have to. I don't know, man.
Well, you mentioned something, as we often have in segments, and that is how much to compete. And I want to cover a lot of things when we come back and talk about this, because I think it goes a little deeper than some of the things we've talked about. So we'll talk about that when we come back on Primetime Muscle. All right, we are coming back, and we're talking about whether or not to compete more or less, or just think that you've got this perfect amount. Chris, you talked earlier that really as much money is in bodybuilding right now at the top level. Competing, this is your window. You've only got so many years, like the NFL or the NBA, before you're injured, you're not gaining muscle anymore, before the atrophy starts, whatever that is. Your window is pretty brief between I made it to the top and I'm making money.
Yes, and when I got my pro card, I wanted to compete as soon as possible. I wanted to get up there and see where I land and where I stand in the best with the best bodybuilders in the world. I did that, taking second in my first show. I think it was like 5 months after I turned pro. I remember, leading up to that show, I was doing a tour in Mexico, got Montezuma Revenge. And so I'm like 4 weeks out, I'm like, oh man, should I not do it? I just lost like 30 pounds overnight type of thing. I did it anyway. I placed second there, and then the next week I was fourth in Arnold Classic. So then I'm qualified for Olympia. I'm just going on, and it's rest is history. I took sixth in the first Olympia. But the thing is, wanting to go up there and wanting to see where you're at, that's one thing. Now I think the guys that compete today, they think, oh, I need to see where I can place, where I'm going to have the best chance to win. When it's all stepping stones. And when you compete, it's always a stepping stone for you to learn, for you to get better. Do you understand what you're going to do more on the stage, against who, and what's going to happen? Now you guys are in boxes because you can't control yourself not stepping up to the front. So now it's like, the thing is, you have to get the experience, and it's not about winning every show. It's not a ratio thing. At the end of the day, it's not a ratio from wins to losses like the pro football or something like that. Get up there, do the different shows, pick the shows where you're going to be the best condition. Your household is in order as far as mentally and physically. Everything is together. So you got to control your relationships, keeping your circle as in controlled as you can, because that's going to weigh a lot on your mind mentally, and focus on the task at hand, because you only have a certain amount of time to compete, and you never know if you're going to step off a curb and tear ACL. You never know if you're going to get in a car accident. You never know what can happen in life, and you want to take advantage of the time you have while you have it.
Well, Tarek is poking me. Tarek, you got something to say.
Yeah, I do. Put the camera on me. Your job as a professional bodybuilder is to compete. Like an NFL player, he needs to play 17 games. He can't go to his coach in the beginning of the season and say, Coach, I want to start on week 6 because I need to improve my coverage as a D-back. He can't do that. He got to play every single game. As a bodybuilder, your job is to compete. Samson Dauda is the Mr. Olympia. Last year, he competed 4 times. 4 times. Martin Fitzwater, he's the Rookie of the Year. I know he turned pro a while back, but he competed 4 times. And a lot of people say, well, I don't want to compete a lot. Well, let's look at the history of bodybuilding. Dexter Jackson, Chris Cormier, Milo Sarcev, Kevin Levrone, all these guys competed over 50 times, right? if you are a intelligent bodybuilder that is not being inconsequential in the gym, working out but not hurting yourself, if your protocol does not look like a lethal injection, if you don't do some of these crazy injections to swallow your left ear, right ear, if you're truly a bodybuilder that's intelligent, that's cautious, that know what you're doing, you can compete 3, 4, 5 times during the year. Your supplement company will love you because now you're in evidence. Your fans will love you because they get to see you, right? And then you can make more money. There has never been more money in bodybuilding than now. Samson Dowd is easy over $1 million. And I believe, based on history, the 2 best athletes in 2024, Martin Fitzwater and Samson Dowd, they were the ones that competed 4 times.
I think you just hit the biggest thing I would want to touch on. Now, the difference between your era, and you got to tell me what this is, because I'm looking at the protocols now, and I'm thinking, okay, these guys map out their year and they say, okay, what show do I think I have the best chance of qualifying for the Olympia? That's everybody's focus anymore. Do I do the Texas Pro, the Tampa Pro? Tampa Pro only puts me 12 weeks out. Texas Pro, if I fail that, that's pretty close. Maybe I should do Chicago. Maybe I should do New York Pro. Guys start mapping out their year, and if they don't, they've got to find another one. But if you are doing one of these earlier shows in the year, Pittsburgh Pro, New York Pro, you've got the rest of the year that you might want to gear down, so to speak, and not put so much strain on your endocrine system, your liver, your organs, and say, all right, I can't stay in shape all year doing 8 to 10 to 12 shows like you guys did. Why is that, Chris? Why can we not maintain that for that condition?
Because I think people don't like to come down off of the protocol type of training. I feel like people don't think they can do much without, doing something that's unconventional. But if you pick like early on, if you're gonna get ready for the Arnold Classic or the shows, after that, you got Detroit 4 weeks after the Arnold Classic, something like this, pick and choose. Like say this part of the year, but I'm gonna, this is bodybuilding season, so I'm gonna keep my diet under control. I'm not gonna get too far out of shape. Keep yourself in striking distance so you can pick up and do a show. So you can't afford to let the body fat get out of control or too much water or whatever. So pick a part of the year, have a strategy by yourself. Say I'm gonna buckle down, keep my protocols very light here. I'm gonna pick things up physically, mentally, and this part of the year. Then if you get qualified, then you can come down and then get ready for the Olympia, something like that later on. But you got to pick and choose and understand your body type and what your body's capable to do when you are at your highest physically and mentally, and then the downside when you're coming down but still keeping the cardio going, keeping the posing going and everything like that. But there's different times of the year when you are able to be your best.
Tarek, I'm going to transition back to that because it was such a great thing to bring up. There are certain things within protocols that really, Chris, have a time limit. Don't do this for more than 6 weeks. Don't do this for more than 8 weeks.
Yes,
don't do this
that's
for more
very
than 12.
important. That's very
so if
important.
you're looking at those things, and that's your qualifying period, and then you go, I didn't qualify, so I'm going to stretch this out 4 more weeks. And then, now I'm just 6 weeks from the Olympia. Now you've been doing something for 26 weeks that's got a 6-week safety zone, an 8-week safety zone before the toxicity is not there. That's why we need to be more careful and take into consideration, do things as
great point.
As I'm trying to
safe as possible.
Safe as possible. I'm trying to think of the right word.
Dorian Yates, who won 6 Mr. Olympias, he goes, my protocol, it was less than some of these bikini competitors. So how can a guy with a protocol that's much less aggressive win 6 Mr. Olympias, and now all of a sudden people rely on these crazy protocols to compete 1 time a year?
Phil said the same thing.
So here's the bottom line. If your protocol is so aggressive that hurts you, then you're no longer doing bodybuilding.
That's right.
You're not a bodybuilder. You're simply hurting yourself. That's the equivalent of you going to the gym and squatting so aggressively that you tear your knee. You're not doing bodybuilding. Your protocol needs to be something that supplements your bodybuilding career. Your exercise needs to be something that supplements your growth. It can't be so aggressive that it prevents you from competing. Another thing is, we talk a lot about it, and I see it as a judge, some of these injections, right? I mean, that is not bodybuilding. That's not bodybuilding. I don't know where, I was talking to Chris, I don't know where this started. I don't know where this started, but it's disappointing to all of us. If you're injecting a body part to look bigger, I gotta tell you, you're not a bodybuilder. A bodybuilder is somebody that goes to the gym, stimulates the muscle.
Look for a certain exercise, not for something you can put in your body, right?
You know, we need to put the brakes on it. Stop with this madness. We're gonna start calling you out, okay, if we see that you are not bodybuilding, okay?
Especially me. I will be calling you out because I see what you're doing. I am not your folks. I'm not your parents. I know because I've been in the field a long time. And just don't try to rely on something like that. Look for a different exercise. Look for a different intensity. Look for something else besides something you can do to yourself that's not in the gym, not conventional, not something that's going to be long-term in your favor, because your muscle will deteriorate over time. And that's why you see some of these guys retiring very early, because they can no longer compete.
And I'm sorry to interrupt. I feel very passionate about this. Why? Because when you judge a bodybuilding competition, you have tremendous admiration for the people that have prepared themselves, right? I'm judging a bikini competitor in Malaysia, and she's an NPC competitor. She worked out, she dieted, she did everything she could to bring her best. And then all of a sudden, you see somebody with a abnormal imbalance, right?
Yes.
That's taking away from the person who worked very hard. So I am very passionate about the people that have worked out, that have gone to the gym, and I want to protect them. I want to make sure that their effort is sacred. And when somebody does those things and we catch it, you are trying to destroy something that's sacred, that Joe Weider, that, all of us praised, which is the effort.
The effort. All right, Chris,
And-
we got to put
and-
a hard wrap on this. Go ahead.
But what about this one? I go a little step further. Some of these muscles that we are seeing, it's not even humanly possible for that muscle to look like that. So when you have the glutes, you have the hamstring, your hamstring don't bow out like a bicep when you're just standing straight up. That is not, it's never gonna be that type of look. The side of the quad is not flaring way out to the side. It's actually a flat, like a plate on the side of the quad muscle. And you're showing me something that's not even humanly possible and want me to give you credit for it. I'm not going to give you credit for it.
Well, we got to wrap this, guys. I'm hoping that we all can all agree. The takeaway for this is more is better for your career under circumstances. If your guru gives you a protocol and it unfurls like the Magna Carta, back down. Schedule yourself. Make sure if your sole goal is to qualify for the big stage at the Olympia, make sure that you're scheduling yourself for safety. If you're a young competitor, make sure that you're doing it safely more than anything. One of the best ways by the way, like, subscribe, and definitely comment on these topics like, do you think you should compete more or less? But one of the ways that people can do things safely is the right supplementation. Tarek, what supplements would you choose?
Well, I personally, and now I'm back at working out. Do you guys, you see a little bit of muscle here? It's Photoshop, guys. I like to have my first meal steak and eggs. Then I go work out. I do high intensity training. I'm a Arthur Jones type of guy. You like that, Aaron? Arthur Jones. And then I have made Pro Zero from Global Formulas, vanilla. I put a little bit of cashews. I do water with ice. The Pro Zero has no fat and no sugar. This is the way to go. There's no other protein that you should be intaking. This is Tarek El-Guindi with Global Formulas. Go right now to www.globalformulas.com. Back to you, Timothy.
Thanks, Tarek. Guys, Chris, thank you as always.
Thank you,
for
brother.
all of your insights and experience. Tarek,
And
I'm fired up!
and Tarek, and I need
Fired up!
and next time
Fired up!
next time you make that steak, I need a little bit more tender. Maybe tenderize it a little bit.
You just need to get stronger teeth.
all right. Folks, thank you for joining us as always. Hope your cardio was great if you were watching this during your workout. We'll see you next time on Primetime Muscle.